I scheduled us into the civil service meeting so that I put it on the agenda to eliminate the height requirement. Well, the union went crazy and they started campaigning with the mayor and saying, look, you can't put women out here. We'll all get killed. Women can't do this job. If there's a woman in the car and we go to a family beef, she'll take the side of the woman and then we'll have two beefs going on. And, or she'll jump in the police car and lock the doors. And you know, they had all these crazy, crazy stories. They'll ruin the pension system. They'll all get hurt. They'll all be off on pension. So I just tried to reason with everyone. No one wanted to be reasonable. So we went to civil service, and the afternoon before, one of the reporters on the Oregonian found out that this was going to be on the civil service agenda. And so he came and talked to me, and he asked me about Mayor Goldschmidt. And I said, well, he won't answer my calls. He won't answer my letters. He doesn't correspond to me at all. And so this is the only way I have left. And the next morning, Mayor Goldschmidt showed up in my office and kicked everybody out and was yelling at me, you know, how dare you talk to the press? You have no right to talk to the press. Don't you know that if women were out on the street on patrol, they'd get injured, they'd ruin the pension system? All this stuff I'd heard from the union. Excuse me. And I said, that's not true. I said, we've been out there, we've just been in plain clothes. I guarantee you that's not true. And he's saying, telling how women can't get a man under control if it comes to a fight and all. So finally I said, how about this? How about you and I go outside? And if I can't get you in handcuffs in about a minute, then I'll shut up and go away. And he said, are you threatening me? And I said, no, I'm just trying to show you how it'll work. And he said, don't you dare threaten me, and storms out of the office. And by this time, Leo Miller, who had been in planning, was now in charge of Central Precinct. And we were in a relationship. The mayor walked down the hall, walked into Leo's office and said, you better get her under control. And Leo just looked at him and said, I don't know what she did, but you know, it's impossible. Nobody's going to get her under control. And he just laughed at the mayor. So the mayor was really mad then. So the next day we go to the civil service and I get a call just before we're going to go there, and from the mayor's office, and they tell me the mayor is going to be there. So I was really worried. And when we got to the civil service office, there were women marching around the room with signs that said, we want police officers, not midgets. If women are working in patrol cars with men, our husbands will get killed. It was just all this silly, stupid stuff. But they were making quite a presence there in the civil service room. And so all of a sudden the mayor showed up, and he just walked right to the front of the room and said, I have something to say. We should eliminate the height requirement and any other requirement that discriminates against women. Wow, I was really blown away by that. So happy. So they did. And we go through years of fighting. And since I was the one that started it, I became the spokesperson. And so in some ways, that's a good thing, because I believe when you take something on, if you've got some people backing you and you go out front and show that you really mean it, you're strong, get involved. And as I said, I did get involved in a couple of homicides that I happened upon. And so.
What kind of reactions did you get from the police officers' wives?
Oh, yes. Officers' wives didn't like this idea of us going out on patrol. And the issue that that everybody was hanging their hat on how women couldn't patrol is that we weren't tall enough. Because if you joined as a police officer, you had to be 5'10", I believe it was. Might have been a little taller. And most women aren't 5'10", at least they weren't then. And you also had to have your weight commensurate with your height, the same as the men did on a men's scale. So even if I found a couple of 5-foot women that wanted to try it, but they didn't weigh enough. And so finally we filed a civil rights complaint on the height requirement. And then the attorney did some research and found out that that was also a fairly recent law. So I decided that one of the things we had to do was we had to go to civil service. In any public employment, almost any public employment, civil service determines what each job will consist of, what the requirements are for the job, what the pay is for the job. So it had to be approved by the Civil Service Board. And there was a new mayor in Portland. His name was Neil Goldschmidt. Very young, very liberal, supposedly. And he had promised me, and he was a friend of Leo's, Leo Miller, the captain of the Planning and Research Division. He promised me that he would fix these problems when he became mayor if I would go out and help him become mayor, which I did. And then he just wouldn't answer my phone calls, wouldn't answer my memos, wouldn't do anything to try and fix our complaints. So I scheduled us into the civil service meeting so that I put it on the agenda to eliminate the height requirement. Well, the union went crazy and they started campaigning with the mayor and saying, look, you can't put women out here. We'll all get killed. Women can't do this job. If there's a woman in the car and we go to a family beef, she'll take the side of the woman and then we'll have two beefs going on, or she'll jump in the police car and lock the doors. And they had all these crazy, crazy stories. They'll ruin the pension system. They'll all get hurt. They'll all be off on pension. So I just tried to reason with everyone. No one wanted to be reasonable. So we went to civil service, and the afternoon before, one of the reporters on the Oregonian found out that this was going to be on this